Mr. Mfembela. Uh, so please introduce yourself and let us know what you think and what's your takeaway.
Um, my name is Shepard Mpambela. I'm based here in South Africa. I have a background in managing security operations center. I managed a security operations center here in South Africa for a company that belongs to the Deutsche Telecoms group called T-Systems. And then I moved on to IBM, where I was looking after security intelligence and operations consulting practice. So I've now started my own company, Bantima Cybersecurity. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is to provide clients and companies with solutions that enable them to operate autonomously, like autonomous SOC. You may have seen on the group I've posted looking for solutions related to that that use machine learning, artificial intelligence, and and all the new age technologies in an effort to give solutions to clients that are quick and can process big data and produce results in an automated way. So that's hopefully what I intend to enrich my knowledge base in that space, and I can maybe learn one or two things that help me on that journey, and maybe also contribute my experiences that I've gathered in the last 10 years or so in information security. Yep. Hi, Abhijit. Hello. 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 Can you hear me?
Hello, sir. There is no voice.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello, Vijit, sir. There is no voice.
Are you able to hear me now? Or not?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, great. Okay, please. So who's next to introduce?
Did everyone hear me when I spoke?
Yeah, I think we can. We all hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. I was worried that I said a lot without anyone hearing.
Yeah. So I'm muting, and Mr. Mfemela, please you can stop the video, and so that it will just keep the bandwidth a little optimized. And so the next person who is going to introduce himself, please, you can switch on your video and your mic and introduce yourself. Sir, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, just hold on.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is SP Arya. Okay, I have been in CI role for the 35 years, and then now I'm running my own consultancy company. And keen to know, I'm very keen to know the security in IoT area and role of how effective AI can be in security area, because right now all security solutions are can say, if I say that they are not proactive. Okay, and so perhaps use of AI can make them proactive and predict the when attacks is going to happen. So I'm keen to work or know all about this. If you can highlight or you can say speak on these. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'm
Yep.
It's Shashi.
Hi,
Uh,
Shashi.
so I work with a startup called D-Base Technology, and we are working on IoT and cyber security and open source ERP solution. So as of now, we are experimenting with various IoT sensors, as well as with one we have deployed one cyber security solution. But when I see everything is signature based, and even if I got a software which says this is AI enabled, but I see it's very ineffective, and I keep seeing the malware attack and the things happening. And by the time we take action, just how AI can be used in making the
hello, Abhijit.
Yeah,
Can we keep this without video, please, and quickly sum
yeah,
up or start the session
yeah. I
actually?
think
Ah,
exactly. So yeah, we can, because the video is actually bulging the bandwidth. So I think
just
Sashi, can
keep
you close the video and just keep your mic on? I think
yeah,
Sashi is
poor
driving through a poor
connection.
network. Yeah. So just close the video and keep your mic on.
you can close your video and just speak on audio. We can hear you, please. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's quickly go through this.
Now video is off now. Now can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Yes. So my I was just telling that my entire joining this channel is to doing in okay. So we are exploring other solution wherein there is no agent required. It's agent led solution, and only once you deploy, then your ongoing signature update is. So that is the technology somebody has told me.
Hmm,
So I'm just see exploring the things, and I seen this group, which is
hmm.
I wanted to join and explore the things and as well as contribute.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Sashikant. You you can place on mute and you close your video. Your video is still on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So who else we have? Uh, Shwanga. Okay. So need to have. Hi, Shwanga. Please go ahead. Shwanga, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, yeah. So I have 24 years of experience. I have been in Seattle for the last 6 years. I've worked with like Reliance Geo, American, then Exide Industries, Jindal. So my area of interest is the upcoming IoT and artificial intelligence security. Apart from the generic cyber security challenges that we face in our day-to-day operations. So Avijit, being a expert in this field, will be very happy to have him on board and hear from him about his rich experience in cybersecurity. Hope I'm audible to everybody.
Yes, you are here. Yes, we
Continue.
can hear you properly. Uh, so thanks, Shubhankar. So who's next? As first, let us just move. Mrinal, can you just introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Mrinal, and I have information security and in IT infrastructure, having 10 years of experience. I'm just recently joined information security and keen to get knowledge in IoT and SOC. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's great. Excellent. Uh, who else next? Mr. Sashi Singhania. Okay, I don't think anybody else is.
You can start your session, please. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think
uh,
yeah, we must start now. Okay, so as you all know, so let me just provide a brief background of mine. So I have been actually working into information security since 2016. It's now over 12 years and overall 20 years of IT experience. Um, before actually joining IT, I was more of a hacker and a pirate, and I was more on the dark side of the entire market. So had a very interesting past. So the company whose software I have pirated the most, they have hired me and made me the manager of license compliance for Asia Pacific, and through them I worked into 34 countries. Overall, I have worked into 35 countries across the world, except for Antarctica. Although I do have wish of going to Dakshin Gangotri there sometime and to have the experience what it feels like, the only isolated continent of the world. What actually interests me in cybersecurity is how we are actually constantly thinking about the risks and the threats that we have, the changing landscape that our organization goes through, newer technologies which are evolving from the feature perspective and the user experience perspective, but significantly lack security as a kind of a sustainable business enabler. That is what actually interests me, and it always gives me pleasure to interact with people like you from each and every corner of the world, and to come across, learn the challenges that you are facing, and then strategize a solution, and have a kind of a mutually benefit collaboration and discussion. So today, as we are now starting, IoT is what is the new, it's already in. The average Gartner statistic says average person or a IT savvy person is using at least 5 to 7 IoT devices, knowingly or unknowingly, in a year, which is increasing at a rate of 33% every year. So in next 3 years, you will double using IoT devices. So if you are using 5 today, maybe 3 years down the line, you will be using 10 IoT devices. But as these devices are now becoming, part and parcel of our life, they are, IoT has been actually designed not as a kind of desktop computer where when you will need, you will actually demand computing or you will demand anything. It is actually it evolves from a state of being connected. So you are being provided computing or computed information feed on demand. So it has to be so proactive, It will understand that at which time you need that feed, and it will come to you. For example, you are wearing, so you guys might be wearing all these smart watches, Apple, Samsung, Fitbit, and all those stuffs. So these watches, they capture a lot of telemetry, rich telemetry about our movement, our sleep patterns, our blood pressure, our weight, our hydration, um, and they actually then provide you with a feed when you need. Actually, if your BP is shooting up, it will just send you an alert, and it can actually send an alert to your doctor as well, that this person is at a critical state of high blood pressure. Please call him or let him know that he has to change his position to help him live better. So just imagine that this is a fair and expected behavior of the device. What if a hacker actually gets into the device? You are a very influential politician. Now you have got this pacemaker which has got a IoT embedded into it. Now the hacker can actually get into it and get it stopped. So in old days, it used to take a gun to shoot a president of a country, but nowadays it doesn't require even a gun. A remote hacker sitting somewhere in Russia or maybe North Korea or maybe China, just hacking into your home Wi-Fi network and then getting across your IoT and stopping the pacemaker. So just imagine what catastrophic impact it can actually have. So you may have come across these dolls, embedded with, IoT, and they were being actually exploited for DDoS attack. So imagine a power grid of a country is being actually attacked. It was a kind of a pivot attack where the pivot base was actually using those 10,000 dolls which are actually installed with embedded with those IoT devices, talking to the home Wi-Fi of their respective households. So the hackers were exploiting these dolls to actually conduct a kind of a gigabyte distributed denial of service attack on a power grid or on a traffic light system of a city. So just imagine why this is actually happening, just and the impact and the catastrophic impact of these kind of attack. So the so when the when kind of the investigative agencies actually looked into it, they found that these devices are too what I would say too transparent for the hackers to actually grab the controls, because most of them don't even have a kind of a basic access layer control. So it's a gentlemen, I would request you to actually put your phones on mute, only except for the time when you are actually speaking or you would like to raise something. Thank you. So now, in the investigation, it has been found that these devices lack the basic security, layers and security planning. So US, being one of the first countries to enact a law on IoT. So just wait for a while. Thank you. So if you actually read through the law, it has actually provided a couple of important, uh, you know, must-haves for every IoT devices that is supposed to be um, licensed for use in the territory of United States. Supposedly, those controls are: first, it should have kind of OEM built user ID and password, which can be which should be reprogrammable. So they have mandated through the law the IoT device must have a user ID and a password, which is very important. So apart from that, the IoT devices should be patchable. So if there is a vulnerability found by the OEM or the manufacturer of the IoT, and he would like to deploy a patch to do away with that vulnerability, the device should be able to install that patch on the go from the genuine OEM deployer, and it should be able to seamlessly provide the services. So these are the very two important pillars which have been actually mandated through law and which has actually helped. There are many other controls which have been provided as must have, should have, may have kind of thing. It has a prescriptive guideline about how to safely deploy IoT within the government domains, which have been actually steered through that law. But it is a good baseline to actually understand how a security posture must be architected when you are actually planning to bring in IoT. So for the home users, these days the new modern internet Wi-Fi routers at home, they come with multiple SSID capabilities. So when you are actually a home user and you would like to use IoTs, you must use a different SSID for all your IoTs. Do not put that onto the mainstream home Wi-Fi, SSID. So try to have a separate SSID, and then deploy that using that separate SSID and activate the firewall mechanism in that, so that uh, you have a kind of IP prestige which is actually can be ascertained, and if a blacklisted IP address traffic is actually coming to your home Wi-Fi, then it should be able to block it without failing the services. So these are a couple of stuffs. Do not introduce IoT in any network without administering user ID and password, and try to shut down the services which you do not actually require in the devices. Do not load too many applications. Do not use one small IoT devices for too many services, because by default IoTs are designed for a single stream or single thread of activity. So if you try to engage a small device for multiple activities, you actually open up the surface for more cyber attacks to actually happen to that specific device, and it can become a single point of failure. So these are a couple of things that we should actually keep in mind while we are actually planning. At the enterprise side, it is always advised that whenever you are actually designing, your IoT layer, try to ensure that there is appropriate amount of gapping and segregation of network is actually provided to the IoT network. So your IoT network should typically be, it should look similar to DMZ, but it should not come within the DMZ or the data management zone or demilitarized zone. So you should actually pronounce the IoT network using a firewall. So today, I mean, organizations, they use external firewall and internal firewall. So external does north-south traffic monitoring and control, where the internal firewalls are east-west traffic monitoring and control. So the east-west firewalls are like that actually looks into entire of your application data and user zone, whereas the north-south or the external firewalls actually look into your internet traffic egressing and ingressing organizations or the DMC of a company. So when you actually pronounce your IoT, try to pronounce it at the firewall level. So you keep it at the external side of your network, and do not let it come directly into your DMZ. The traffic should always come via firewall, so that you have maximum utilization of the IPS and IDS and deep packet inspection capabilities of the firewall. So you can actually inspect what kind of traffic is actually being sent via the IoT, what kind of traffic is actually going to the IoT. These couple of stuffs need to be should be taken into account. In the enterprise side, when you deploy IoT, try to only first of all write down what that IoT actually has to do, and only try to keep that functionality on and shut down every other functionality of that device. Do not try to use that device for more than 2 or 3 specific purpose. And if the device is used for a critical thread of activity, then try to keep that device dedicated for that activity only, and do not open any other services through that device. So these are a couple of things that I think people should keep in mind, apart from regular patching and vulnerability scanning of these devices are very important. Even some of the standards like ISO and PCI DSS, for example, PCI DSS is pretty prescriptive about scanning these the PCI systems, or the systems in the PCI network on quarterly basis. But however, the security best practices say that you must have a vulnerability scanning going on, every month. So your internal, you can still segregate the frequency of patching. Your internet facing devices or applications should be scanned once in a month, and your internal devices or applications which are not facing internet can be scanned once in a quarter, maybe once in a year as well. So as long as you are properly deploying the patches to these devices, you can take the scanning frequency to a year as well. So these are a couple of things that if you bear in mind, you will be able to deploy IoT very securely. The other mechanisms of deploying IoT is a little bit of a kind of what I would say a close down or lockdown method, where there are these IoT administration applications available, which are like more of a mobile device managers, MDM applications. So you can actually scan a particular IoT device. You can track that IoT device in that application, and you can then what I would say harden the IoT device using those application, and then allow them to use only specific activity. The benefit of deploying IoT devices through device management applications is that you are able to track the inventory of the IoTs. Then you can actually ascertain what is the level of hardening of these devices. Along with that, you can also see what kind of traffic these devices are actually receiving. So if there is you know, a kind of a DDoS attack or a DOS attack is actually happening, or there are kind of authentication failure which is happening, it will just immediately alert you, in providing a kind of very early signal that something is wrong with that device. So based on that, I would now, open this forum for everybody to bring up their points, what they think I have actually missed out, and something that also be considered in deploying IoTs securely. Thank you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, Abhijit.
Yes, please go ahead.
This is SP Arya.
Yes, Arya sir, बताइए. Tell me.
Where you have what you have explained right now is fantastic. My point is that is there some solution or apps available which can monitor the IoT? For example, I'm wearing a watch which monitors my health statistics and sending it to the apps, and then the relevant website or whatever it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. How can I know that it is not getting any other data from my phone or whatever it is? Are there some solution which can say me that, oh, look, gentlemen, this device is looking for this data but get fetching another data also. Okay,
Yes.
so are there solutions available to safeguard my mobile phone?
Yes, there are. So see, to use that kind of an application um, at a kind of a home level will be a little bit of overkill. However, if you look, if I say this name, you may laugh because it actually comes straight away from Russia. So Kaspersky has actually bring up a kind of antivirus, and they have got a family suite. That
Mhm.
antivirus also has, so if you install that in your main home computer, and
Okay.
you then whitelist your Wi-Fi SSIDs with that antivirus, it starts working as a device management application as well. So then if that Wi-Fi has any device communicating through that Wi-Fi, it will actually start observing that device, that what communication that device is actually doing. So what you
Okay.
can do, if you, as I said, you have a separate SSID for your IoTs, what you can do, you can then whitelist that specific SSID for your IoT, and in your Kaspersky antivirus. So don't go by the brand. These antivirus companies are pretty, aggressive these days, and they are highly evolving. Maybe McAfee or maybe Trend Micro, they may also, come up with these features, but Kaspersky is one of the first to actually start that as a matter of their business unique proposition. So you can whitelist that SSID and whitelist those devices. And once you whitelist using that antivirus application, it then starts observing your device. It will observe its usual way of working. If that device starts, connecting or communicating with any, malware based or poor IP prestige website, so a specific website which is blacklisted or doesn't have a good prestige, it will provide you with a kind of a risk assessment and a dashboard that these are the devices which are at risk because they are, fetching some information from, blacklisted website. So so there are obviously applications now available with IoTs, now taking a more, so they are very fast replacing, SCADA. So
Mhm.
the SCADA devices, which were actually previously being used in the industrial control and computing, embedded computing environment. So
Okay.
that is why a lot of organizations are now coming up with IoT device management applications, which actually helps you to deploy devices. For example, Cisco has recently launched their new Meraki class, Wi-Fi access points. So these
Mhm.
Wi-Fi access points have a built-in, application that can actually control your Bluetooth and IoT based devices. So you can utilize the same router because it has got built-in IPS and IDS and the device management, embedded device management application. You can track all your IoTs which are, connected using the SSID of the Meraki controller, and you can whatever you want, what kind of traffic you would like to let those devices communicate, and you can control everything with that devices. So I have deployed some 1700 Meraki controllers in my organization, and I have safely deployed them to install and administer IoT. So our entire IoT network is actually operating over Meraki.
Okay. Okay. But okay, that's fine. That either you are controlling it through Kaspersky kind of concept, the solution on your desktop, or this Meraki controllers. But what I'm trying to say is that it's fine. That is for organizations. It's working very well. Okay, fantastic. But as an individual, because individuals carry a plethora of data. Okay, if you know that, if it is my
Yeah.
smart, I carry a lot of data on my phone at all. Okay,
Yeah.
and it is not the organization, but individuals are more having, can say, much more data than the organization, frankly speaking, if I say it. Okay,
That's true.
So how to can say safeguard their information on their mobile? Because I really do not know. As on today, I have given so many can say access to Facebook, WhatsApp. Everybody wants can say access and permissions. I have given it, and then I don't know what data is going out and what is there and what is left here with me only. Okay, so I just want that there should be a solution for individual smartphones which can track any device connected with their smartphone is not consider sending some information from my, or those accesses are not being misused by the relevant apps actually.
Hmm. Now, I agree on your point that you say that there should be some capability within smartphones that should be able to help you control the accesses. See, somehow, I feel you won't get a kind of a tool that can do a lot of work, simply because, see, the whole of the software industry actually, go by the commerce. So, individual by default doesn't promises that much of money as much as the large enterprise do. So that is why Apple and Samsung, they have a kind of a corporate rollout in a different fashion than a kind of a normal user rollout in a different fashion. So if you are a kind of a iPhone user and you are using a kind of a genuine iPhone, and which is not a jailbroken or rooted iPhone, then you have a fairly good amount of control on the encryption and the content that your phone is actually having. Uh,
But
However, the
anybody,
high
the majority is can say majority is can say on Android in the world.
Yes. So I'm just going to say some word on the Android side of it. So on the Android side, see, uh, I'm not sure about what the Chinese organizations are doing. However, if you go with Pixel and all that, the Google brands of and the Google has actually acquired Motorola recently, and they are now manufacturing their own Android phones. So along with that, ZTE, no, not ZTE. There is this Taiwan based company, HTC, yes, HTC, and then Samsung. So they have a fairly good encryption feature within their mobile phones. So Samsung has recently acquired a company called Knox, and they have fully integrated Knox within their phone. So my new Galaxy 9 Plus actually is fully encrypted with Knox, and it's protected with a conditional access and biometric. The Knox actually identifies the moment I actually pick up the phone, it identifies me, that I am the genuine owner of the phone with the kind of the movement. And if there is a difference or a anomaly in that, if I place my hand on the biometric fingerprint and it finds there is an anomaly, then it actually asks for a passcode to be actually provided. So there are two layers of control which is there, and the data inside is fully encrypted. So even if I plug this phone into a compromised USB port, nobody will be able to, because it's not on a kind of debugging mode. So it's completely hardened. So what I additionally do is, for example, when I am not using Bluetooth, I switch off my Bluetooth. When I'm not using my Wi-Fi, I switch off my Wi-Fi. So try to close down all of these radio communication items of your phone. It will save you from reducing the surface area, and as well as it will prolong your battery life also.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else to ask the question? Others can ask the question now.
Any other question on IoT security?
Pankaj, guys, you all have to unmute your Jona concept phone first and then speak.
Yeah, guys, carry on. I actually am driving, so maybe I'll have a questions later on.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Mhm.
Okay, if you don't have any question on IoT,
Uh,
yeah, please go ahead.
Abhijit, see, there is tons and now see devices counts are increasing day by day. Each device, how we will embed and control that device? Except, so I'm just wondering if I have a sensor which is collecting the critical process data,
Mhm,
and like in a manufacturing company, a chemical manufacturing company which control the process, and if
mhm,
somebody hack into it, it can fail the complete process.
mhm.
So, so one
So
thing which I, how we can protect that end point. So, is there any endpoint protection software is already there, which can block like antivirus? Do we have
mhm.
anything as of now?
Okay. This is first of all, thanks for this use case or a question, which is very, very real life, and I can see a lot of um, anxiety which is actually hidden around how to secure these devices. Okay. Now, just to before I answer your question, can you tell me how this IoT device communicates to the internet and then to your application?
See, what I as of now, there is a separate network. We have removed that SCADA from internet. Okay, and I see in between somebody connecting that SCADA device to internet. So there is a separate IoT network, and as of now, it is not connected to internet. But it means there is always a chance that people are plugging in that network and exposing it to internet.
So when you are actually saying the IoT network, this is essentially a Wi-Fi network.
There is a some sensor recently are Wi-Fi. Otherwise, those are wired sensor. Okay, and they are
Okay.
communicate over TCP/IP.
Mm,
So it's one of my customer and customer. Some managers connecting that system to internet. So it's my always I have a kind of a anxiety how to stop these guys, even
mm.
though uh, it's a remote and there is always a chance that they can it can collapse the entire production line.
That's true. This is a very, very good use case, and thanks for sharing this. See, a typical hybrid environment where you have wired connectivity, wired connected IoT devices, and Wi-Fi connected IoT devices. So, what you can do, you know, uh, you can create for the Wi-Fi devices, you create a separate IoT SSID. Don't name it as IoT. You can say a special SSID or a special network, something which is different from your corp network, but it should not pronounce. So if a hacker is actually scanning your, doing a war walking or war dropping, then they should not be able to, ascertain that this is the IoT network. Okay. So the idea is to actually create a little bit of ambiguity there and then have a separate SSID for your IoT devices. Now, the idea is actually let the IoT devices connect to this Wi-Fi, and then this Wi-Fi's internet connectivity should be provided only through a firewall. Okay, and you can
Okay.
create the ACLs in the firewall, the access control list or the firewall rules, in which you can say IoT 1, IoT 2, IoT 3. So you can do a kind of suffix after the rule, just to identify that this rule set is completely for the IoT. Now that firewall, those firewall rules can be, provided to the Wi-Fi, can be also provided to the wired network. So when you actually have a wired network, try to have a different VLAN, okay,
Yeah.
a VLAN which is completely separate, and it should not have a trunking. So don't do an inter VLAN trunking with any other corporate network. Don't let this traffic go anywhere into the corporate network. Take it straight away to the firewall, get it scanned through the ACL and throw it out into the internet. And while you are actually letting this, these devices go over to the internet, only provide specific connectivity out, going out. So if you know which are the websites or which are the sites to which these devices have to connect, only allow whitelist those IP addresses or the DNSs in the firewall to let these traffic go out. This way, you will not actually let these devices to arbitrarily send data anything away from the whitelisted site. And this way, you will be able to discipline the traffic also, and you will be able to manage a very, very secured connectivity and a very narrow surface or a hardened surface connectivity for the entire IoT deployment.
And, thanks, Abhijit. And
Welcome.
I think I will connect over one to one to
Yes,
discuss
yes,
some specific things with you. Okay, but
very
it answers my query and given me further how to go next level. Thank you.
welcome. Anybody else with a query on IoT?
Hello, Abhijit.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Abhijit,
Yep.
this is Arya again. Okay. You were supposed to say something about artificial intelligence and security arena. So,
Yes.
oh,
So I think if people don't have any other query on IoT, then we can move on to artificial intelligence.
yes, please move on there. Okay, because nobody is coming up. So,
That's
okay, it's you can start that. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so the next topic, let me just have some hydration before I start
Mhm.
that one. Please just give me 30 seconds break.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. So the next evolving feature or a kind of what I would say the avenue which is coming up in cybersecurity or information security is the evolving role of uh, just wait, yeah, evolving role of artificial intelligence. So uh, now artificial intelligence, people actually use this term with machine learning as well, then deep learning as well. But what is artificial intelligence? That we need to actually first of all understand, and then we will take a kind of deep dive into how this new resource or a new technology can actually help us in cybersecurity. So artificial intelligence is nothing but it's like a kind of a human brain which is completely digitized. So it has its own capacity to learn. Um, what what it needs to learn? That is again important question. So it learns the patterns. So anything. So we eat food, we enjoy it, and then we again we go retire to our bedroom and we sleep and we wake up, and next day we have our wash and we go to office, we work, we come back home, we feel happy, we feel sad, we have our bad days and good days with our bosses. So so these are kind of numerous infinite types of patterns which are there. and our brain keeps learning that. So if somebody has unfortunately got a bad boss who actually throws his weight on the employee too much and the employee is under stress, then sooner or later the employee will start having one or the either kind of a reaction. Either the employee will start getting depression, or the employee will start pushing back the boss if he has got good, strength of mind, skills, and everything. So what is this? The That means this particular employee's brain has learned the pattern, the way the boss is actually communicating, and then the brain has come up with a kind of a design how to actually mitigate that stressful challenge which is actually coming to this employee from his boss. So this is a typical method in and let's now take this onto the cyber security front. So we've got our organization and we've got hackers who are constantly scanning the landscape, scanning they are like those, hidden carnivore animals, just like the wolves and the foxes who are just scanning where is that, the cub of the deer or that small, rabbit which they can get hold of, isolate, and then prey on that and eat it. So they keep scanning. So when they are actually scanning, they are doing a kind of a manual process, and slowly and steadily they develop these patterns which actually helps them qualify that this is a level 1 target, this is level 2, this is level 3. So level 1 is like financially not feasible, level 2 is like financially feasible but a little bit difficult, level 3 is financially feasible but very easy to penetrate. So they will by default go for level 3 kind of a organization. Now this is something, a kind of a pattern which they are actually utilizing. Now just imagine, instead of having, so China at this point is operating a kind of a extension of the Chinese Red Army called the Cyber Army. That's called the Red Cyber Army. So 5,000 of these army men who are actually trained hackers from the best of the universities of China and Europe. 5,000 of them are sitting in office outside, just in the outskirt of Shanghai, and 5,000 of them are sitting in a army office somewhere in Beijing. So they have got 10,000 of these trained hackers who are actually doing a very, very choreographed, streamlined business process, which is about targeting, their uh, probable enemies. So it's like all the G8 countries, India, what Pakistan is doing, so China has got pretty aggressive and active in African continent. So my friend Shepherd Amphibella can ratify my claims. So China has actually built a kind of a rail corridor in Ethiopia, and they have actually created a building as part of that development process, and they have actually got the telecom and the rail employees sitting in that building. Now, the beautiful thing about that building was at night, at the stroke of the midnight, when it was 12 a.m. and the Ethiopia time, all the servers will switch on automatically and start replicating their data to a data center somewhere in the outskirts of Shanghai. So every data, every bit of data being actually been done, been transferred or replicated onto unknown servers somewhere in Shanghai. And by 4 a.m., all the servers will actually shut down in that building. So this was like abnormal behavior that has started happening, and then it was being learned that it's a deliberate programming through a remote control from China. So that is the kind of job that they are doing. But sorry for digressing into that one. That that was around the information we have around how China is operating, specialized cyber engagement activities across the world. However, on the artificial intelligence side, it is about digitizing the human brain and capturing the patterns to which that artificial intelligence is actually targeted for. So for example, you might have come across with a well-known anti-malware manufacturer called Cylance. So can anybody say that they have heard the name called Cylance?
Yes, I've heard of silence. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cylance is the world first artificial intelligence based anti-malware system. So what they have done, each of their endpoint actually has a digitized human brain, and that particular endpoint actually has some 273,000, so 2,73,000 273,000 patterns of malware, or malware process, or malified processes being recorded into it. So whenever a kind of activity happens into a system, that uh, AI application actually inquires that activity and tries to find out that what that activity is all about. Does that activity matches any of the patterns, that 273,000 patterns which are actually there in that endpoint? So these patterns are, they actually cover the entirely the complete malware universe. So anything that can actually happen in the malware territory must have at least one of the pattern from those 273,000 patterns which are actually stored there. So now see the benefit of this artificial intelligence anti-malware. uh, Normally, if you are actually using an antivirus or anti-malware, you have to continue to install the patches or the virus definition, the signatures that you have, which is a big pain, because if you are operating in a non-connected environment, it's a big pain to actually upgrade the patches at a regular interval. So there are, due to that challenge, there are organizations who are actually on lookout what can we actually leverage using artificial intelligence. So Cylance actually, when they developed this app, this anti-malware, this anti-malware does not actually, first of all, Cylance actually deploys only 2 updates in a year, one in every 6 months, which is nothing but a kind of a refinement of the 273,000 patterns which are there. So it's not a typical virus signature, it's a pattern which they actually deploy in every 6 months. So now, instead of a weekly or fortnightly patching cycle, your patching cycle actually goes into 6 months. So for example, if your organization is operating couple of oil rigs, and each oil rig has, let's say, 10 or 20 computers, so it doesn't take you much of pain, because you just have to visit the oil rig once in a 6 month with a pen drive with you, and go and insert the pen drive and update the signature on the in the computers which are running there. So in mining industry, this is really very beneficial, because there are these tipper which are actually mining tippers which are operating. They have got onboard ruggedized laptops which are actually installed. So you don't have, these laptops are actually operating very old operating system, Windows 98, Windows XP. So Cylance actually integrates very well with these old operating system. And since they in mining area you don't have internet connectivity in a very comfortable manner, so you don't need to actually rely on constantly updating. So you just update it once in a 6 months or maybe once in a year, and it's fine for you to actually go and detect and prevent your malware or malintrusions, what we can say. So this is a very stark benefit which comes up using artificial intelligence based malware or anti-malware. So it actually brings up a very important building block in cyber defense, which is endpoint protection. Now, if you actually look into cybersecurity, effective cybersecurity actually is how maintain the balance between people, process, and technology. So, so with by using artificial intelligence, you are substituting the work of the people side of it, and you are having a very disciplined, replicated people side of the features, which is now being run by artificial intelligence application. So in a large scale, when you actually look into using artificial intelligence, it is something like where you know uh, you have, for example, a log server, and this log server generates and receives log from every device in your enterprise. So from the firewall to the cloud servers to the applications, Wi-Fi controllers, your endpoint computers, tablets, in fact, the projectors, and the IoT devices as well. Now, if you actually have in artificial intelligence system or application which is sitting on this log server for doing effective log correlation, it can actually detect certain anomaly patterns, and it can let you know very, very effectively without human intervention that there are certain problems or certain kind of anomaly traffic, or there are there's traces of dark traffic, or um, insider threat, or virus outbreak, or malware intrusion, or some kind of DOS attack which is actually about to happen. So how it actually works is like, whenever there are these organizations, for example, the company called Lockheed Martin. So they have been a big advocate and pioneers of artificial intelligence, because if you know Lockheed Martin, they actually manufacture fighter aircrafts for the US Air Force, and they are a very big defense OEM of the United States of America. So they already had a kind of a base for artificial intelligence research, and then they started actually using AI for developing SOC for their organization. So Lockheed Martin actually operates in 18 countries across the world, and these 18 countries, they actually send their logs to their central SOC in US. This SOC actually operates, so they have got a 50-50 kind of a work balance. So all the low level work of log correlation and everything is actually been sorted by the artificial intelligence, and then above that the humans are presented with a very, very refined data. So if you are actually subscribing to Lockheed Martin cybersecurity, they can actually ingest your logs, they can read through your log, and they can provide you with a proactive threat dashboard, that this kind of traffic is actually entering or attempting to enter. Hackers are trying to scan through your applications. You should be doing this in order to protect your application. So this is what they have actually done. And now worldwide, people are actually trying to design artificial intelligence around in proactive threat investigation and mitigation. So if we actually have to look into a little bit um, into differentiating what is artificial intelligence, what is machine level learning, and what is deep learning. So if we have to look into it, then artificial intelligence is on the top. It's like the human brain. Machine level learning is like a parrot. So you can teach a parrot to say some lines. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So it can say good morning. The moment it will see you, it will say good morning, even if it is night. So that is machine level learning. So it is not intelligent. So if and it actually works on if then else in the uh, so if you guys have done programming, in older times when we used to use C, COBOL, Pascal, so we used to do these if then else uh, you know uh, kind of programming loop. So if uh, one is less than 2 or x is less than y, then print y is bigger. So this is a typical if then else. So machine level learning actually works on using those signatures on if then else process. Deep learning is again a very small and specific part of machine level learning, but it's not intelligent enough. It just supports some features, but it cannot do complete support all its own, just like artificial intelligence. So when organizations say it's written, signature based, artificial intelligence. So always understand there is no signatures. There is no place of signatures in artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence only work in on based on patterns. Machine level learning works using signatures or trends or kind of thread or work stream. And deep learning works typically on commands. So this is a basic kind of distinction of what difference between artificial intelligence, machine level learning, and deep learning. And with that, I now open the forum for everybody for questions and answers. Thank you. Any questions?
So Shashi, Abhijit.
Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, Abhijit. See, I was hearing about that Cylon. Cylon has 2,73,000 patterns, which it can say the malicious traffic is there. So, does that how if cost effective that solution is? Is it very costly, or is it uh, uh, affordable by end user, or it is only
That's very
meant for an
important.
enterprise?
No, it's actually Silence. What they have done, it is very effective, cost effective. Let me tell you, when I first actually evaluated Silence, the only product which was available against 0-day vulnerability was FireEye, and FireEye was costing me $2,200 per user in a organization. So it was very expensive. And at the stark contrast, I have got Silence. This was like in the year 2016 when I first evaluated and installed Silence and used that their product. So Silence was costing me $180 per user. So that was almost like a 10 times cost, reduction, 1/10 of the cost what it was conventionally, visible. So it's pretty cost effective. What they have additionally provided that if you buy, if you are an organization of 100 people, and that's the minimum numbers that you have to buy in order to get this specific scheme. Otherwise, you can buy any. The enterprise side opens up with a bundle of 5 plus 5 plus 5. So they actually sell 5 licenses together. So if you have, you can go 5 first, then 5 next. So you can go like, for if you have 25 people, you need to buy 5 sets of 5 licenses together to make
Okay.
for 20. But you won't get this specific scheme. The specific scheme is about securing your home and office. So if you buy
Okay.
100, more than 100 licenses, Silence activates your home licenses for free of cost.
Okay.
So you can install the same Silence application, but through a different, connected through a different cluster, which will not actually show into your enterprise cluster, but you can have your home computer also installed with Silence,
Okay.
and that comes for free. So that they does that thing. So this is what I have to
So
answer you.
So means you organization can have protection for their employees too, like typical
Exactly.
any other organization software companies are offering nowadays. If you take this
Exactly.
license, okay. And another thing, I heard. Have you heard of a product called Radar 360, which promise similarly what we were talking about Cylance? Uh, so have you heard of this company
Uh,
which is
zip,
offering Radar 360? Any idea on
uh,
that?
no, I haven't, because where are they based out of? US or what?
That's a UK based company. They have office in Hyderabad. It's a startup, and
Oh,
they were talking about 6,000 rupees per license, and similar promise, no signature update, only one time installations, and and they were
okay.
also talking about AI based product.
Okay. If you have to test their AI based product, try
Mm.
to ask them how good is their product on Windows XP and how
Okay.
good is their product on Windows 10. And if
Okay.
they say my product is Windows version agnostic, you can install it on Windows 98 as well, and you can install on Windows 10 as well. Then it's a genuine AI product. Otherwise, there is some other uh, you know funny things inside. So be a little bit careful, try to evaluate. I am not restricting the opportunities and avenues, but any other product who are actually claiming to be purely AI, ask them how frequent the updates are being actually provided. If they say it's quarterly, it's monthly, no, it's not right. It should be at least in 6 months, or at least should be once in a year. Because it's normally when we say AI doesn't means it requires a regular update or feed. It just requires a pattern update. So, and the pattern update depends on how the back office or the development or the research office is actually how fast they are working. So Cylance has got around 250 data scientists working out of US. So they have got a very, very big pool of engineers who are constantly finding newer patterns. And with that, they release kind of, half yearly update. And each update of Cylance doesn't have more than 15 or 16 patterns. Just imagine so many people, so much of work, but again, because one pattern can actually manage or mitigate some 100,000 viruses and different type of viruses and malwares. So
Yeah.
another test that you can, litmus test that you can do, is repackage a malware and try to attack the system which is installed with Radar 360. So the
Okay.
a true AI based anti malware is going to detect that repackaged antivirus or repackaged malware the moment you try to launch it. But a false or a kind of a pseudo AI, anti-malware won't able to detect it. It will say, "Oh, I don't have a signature to identify this," and it will crash.
Got you. And other thing, I'm using Sophos as they offer fastest growing company, and they
They are
got
good.
into the
They
leader
are good.
column.
Uh,
But then
uh,
whatever it detects that pattern as a malware, but I never found any issue on this. And except Sophos, nobody even identify those pattern, and there is no solution to it. And when we go and approach Sophos, they keep saying that it may be false positive, ignore it. So that's
mhm.
a funny thing which I am facing with the Sophos products.
Um, some of the time, because Sophos by default works at a higher heuristic than other service providers, so they keep getting the false positives. Are these false positives coming through the GPO group policy?
No, no,
Okay,
it's not through policies.
okay.
Okay. So I have raised the ticket. See, sorry, in interest of others, yeah, I'm just taking all of the time. So we will
No
take
worries, no
that
worries.
offline
Please go ahead.
discussion. Yeah, I'll take a
Whatever you are
discussion with.
doing, it's value adding. Don't worry. This
Yeah,
forum is for open discussion.
yeah,
Everybody is learning of it.
yeah. So that's what my recent experience, which they talk about AI base and then false positive. I never got a solution. My tickets are open for almost 3 to 4 months. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Yes, Sophos has a problem because they say that they have embedded AI
yeah.
in their enterprise anti-malware solution. Uh, but if the AI is so good, it should be able to detect the false positives. So once the false positive is detected, and the central orchestrator is muted on the specific false positive, the reverse signature of it is actually sent to all the connected endpoints. So next time a similar thing happens, it will not create a trigger, but at the same time it will protect, because the AI understands at what level a system intrusion works, and at what level a user, actually normal user, works. So it able to clearly distinguish between the level of the privileges that have been exploited while a system's while some thread is actually operating within a system. So uh, so uh, so first, I mean, normally, if you say with the cheapest solution, and within the conventional scale, yeah, Sophos is good, because for medium organizations, they provide device control, so you can actually harden the laptops, desktops, mobiles, using, if you are actually deploying Sophos. So that actually helps. But if you are getting too many false positives and they are not able to resolve, possibly you can start looking for better solutions, which are now evolving in the market. So start evaluating better product which are there, because you may never know. Some hacker may see, okay, I have been sending these malware intrusion ping to this particular organization, and they seems to detect it, but they are not doing anything. That means they are taking it as false positive, and that can be actually used as a vector to sneak into your network and exploit your network for a data breach or maybe mass exploitation. So it's better that you change your security shield when the opportunity is there, and you have done your research, you are getting a better cost and cheaper option, which can deliver more capabilities. So I think that is how you should be going, rather than relying on Sophos that way.
Got you, Abhijit. Thanks. Thanks for that clarification. Thank you.
So anybody else? Any other query, question?
Hi, Abhijit. There's an endpoint security product called Sentinel One. I don't know if you've heard of it. It seems to apply a static AI engine as well, but I'm not sure in your mind how it compares against Silence.
Um, I'm not sure because we actually see there is a uh, the way we actually evaluate a particular product, security product, is that we try to, since we actually work with government sector uh, in a very integrated manner. So for us, we have to actually look through the Department of Defense list of OEM service providers, and from there we actually pick and choose our vendors, and we send them request for proposal with our specifications to start the evaluation with their products. So we do not actually, I'm sorry, I do not get an opportunity to lay my hands on too many products that way. So but that doesn't mean that I'm not capable of or I am not agile enough to actually looking at newer products. If I am not working with a government organization, or my client is not government, and my client's risk posture is lower, and they can actually afford with a cheaper solution, I will definitely try to develop specifications that will actually cover their risk and will get them a solution which is cheaper and more cost effective, rather than buying a more expensive product for the organization. That is what it is my point on this. However, I would suggest, like, when you are actually about to evaluate a product or endpoint security product, try to first write down what your pain points are. So that's your challenge set. And then what you are looking at, even if those are wishes, and you are a little bit suspicious whether you will get a real life or a practical tool to actually manage that risk or those pain points or not, even then write them down. Because see, it may not be necessary that a tool may have a ready-made, module in it to answer for the pain points, but you may have some configuration workarounds or a method of hardening or monitoring or tracking or blocking that can actually help you in getting, a resolution for all those pain points. And then you come to, when you start evaluating the product, then you can actually define the configurations that you think are the best. So I think this is how you should actually evolve your product evaluation, and bring up a complete POC and the result based on the objectives and the pain points from where the challenges and the objectives from where you actually have started. If you repeat this across your security practice, you will always have exactly and precisely your objectives or your deliverables or the outcome of the product that you have actually bought, completely resolving all the pain points every time, when you practice this. So this is my advice to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Abhijit,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
is there metrics available where we can look at those challenges generally people face? Because not everybody is aware of all those challenges. Okay, they are not security experts. They are the general users. Okay, even as a CIO, he might not be a security expert. CISO may be a security expert, but CIO is not a considered security expert. So, do you have some sort of metrics where all the challenges are here? Okay,
Yes.
okay, I might be facing two challenges, but I'm ignoring the crucial, critical third one, which I might use and which I'm not realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, your query is very, very good, very pertinent, and thanks for raising that one. And yes, there are matrices available. So I hope you guys are aware of a very world famous data breach report, which is published every year, called Verizon Data Breach Report.
Yes, 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 yes.
So Verizon actually, Verizon operates a kind of a central investigation department in US,
Mm,
and the worldwide director for that SOC is Mr. Brian Sarton, is a very good friend of mine. When
mm,
Verizon actually launched their product and services in India, I was the one who have actually helped them in organizing, a kind of premier function at Grand Hyatt in Delhi.
okay.
And I got the opportunity to host Dr. Brian Sarton 3 times in Delhi
Okay.
during that event. So they have a very good data breach investigation. You can go onto their website, or you can simply Google saying that data breach investigation report from Verizon, and you can
Mm,
subscribe to it. So every year when they publish that report, they will send you a URL, and you can sign in with your email ID, and a PDF copy of that report will be sent to your email, and you can read through that report. So every year that report keeps increasing with the number of cases that they actually investigate, and they
mm,
try to segregate to bring up very good statistics around the top three industry verticals which are actually having the maximum attacks. So
mm,
they are still the medical, the financial, and the hospitality industry. So
mm,
these are the three which are consecutively on the first three ranks for last 7 years now. So it actually provides you a very good, view of the landscape where the threats are evolving, and somehow it will give you kind of. It doesn't require to be a good CIO or a CISO for that reason. A little
mm,
bit of good statistical analysis of that will actually provide you a kind of a position where you can actually can fairly define your organization. Actually, if you are into financial, you are in the government, or you are in the healthcare, or you are in the hospitality, you know where you are and how your risk are actually going to be. So you can then work with your CFO and design the budget structure along with that, and then you can go ahead from there. So, along with Verizon, there is another organization which is partnering with IBM called Ponemon Research Institute. So, you will find another report in the Google called IBM Ponemon Research Report, and
mm,
they
yes.
also brings up these statistics. And you should be reading these two reports annually, and it provides you very good and crisp statistics around the risks and the
Yes.
threats
Yes.
organizations are facing.
Very, 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 very expensive.
No, you can get a free download. Don't worry.
No, but I do get this. I do get this. Okay. I
Yeah,
just thought, okay, just I was keen to know if there's some specific, you can say, updated metrics available. Okay, these reports are fine. Okay, that's fantastic report actually. If I must say, I must have. It gives a deep insight about the threat landscape and everything. A lot of statistics are there. Okay, and
mm,
rather we use those statistics in our presentation. Frankly speaking,
yeah. I
our
do
statistics.
that in my presentation wherever I deliver constant lectures in around over 8 countries now. So I think today's call, I think we have got people from around 5 countries today. So this thing happened, but this is only voice call that we are doing. So I do my presentation. I am presenting in Sydney in March, and I am presenting in Melbourne in June. And I every year constantly present at Cybersecurity Asia in Malaysia and Singapore both. So this is it, and I extensively use their report and the snapshots there to explain my position. And these presentations are very well received within the people and the audiences there. You're right.
That's fantastic. Okay, see if you can share one or two of your presentation. Okay, with us for our knowledge. Okay, and then when are you there in Delhi? Just let us know. We will definitely meet you.
Sure, sure. It will be my honor to be with you guys there in Delhi. And thanks for all your time, and the beautiful queries that we came across and the use cases. Thanks a lot to everybody.
Thank you, Abhijit.
So Abhijit,
Yep.
where you based out of?
I'm based out of Sydney in Australia.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice talking to you, and I think it's a really wonderful session, Abhijit.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot for feedback.
Excellent,
Thank
Abhijit.
you,
Thank you.
Abhijit.
Thank you.
Everyone.
So we are connected over the WhatsApp group.
Yes.
So please send in your queries, anything, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay. 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 Great. Do you have recording of this session?
Yes, I have the recording, and I'm going to post that after this session. Anybody would like to connect with me over LinkedIn, I am available. You can search me with the same email ID that you have found me here on Skype, and
Okay.
you can connect with me over LinkedIn as well. I've got around 10,000 connections on my LinkedIn, and I will like to have some more.
Right. Right. Thank you, Abhijit.
Thanks a lot, guys, and all the best. Take care. Bye.